Hey, how are you?
Brett Kissel, how are you?
I'm so good, thank you. And how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Oh no, the pleasure's all mine. Sorry that my screen is a little bit wonky with the sunshine in the background, and also I dropped my phone in the water yesterday. So I was so worried that I was gonna have to either use somebody else's phone or try to figure out a solution. But so far this iPhone is pretty durable, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no, that's no problem at all. Looks fine. Looks fine. So let's just jump right in then. Would it be fair to call you the busiest guy in country music?
Uh yeah, I don't know. I probably not. I bet you there's some others that are busier that I just, don't know about, but I've always wanted to be busy. That was always important to me, to come up with ideas and to work hard and to keep my foot on the gas pedal. That's an important thing. So because of that, I know that I'm busy, but man, I don't know. I don't think I'm the busiest. You know who probably is, actually,
Who's
from
that?
what I've heard? Dolly Parton.
Well, that would be, you know what? That's true. She does have her own theme park.
Yeah, she's running $1 billion empire. She made a rock album. It got inducted in the Rock Hall of Fame. She's making a bluegrass record. She's making a gospel record. I mean, I know I made 4 albums this year, but I think she's doing four and she's 70 something. Then she was at the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. Then she hosted the Academy of Country Music Awards, and she manages multiple businesses and is on board room Zoom calls and stuff like that. So from what I've heard, I think Dolly Parton is the busiest person in show business. And if I can be like Dolly when I'm in my 70s, I'll be a very happy man.
Right, right. No kidding. So now, if I'm not mistaken, though, you're actually taking a well-deserved holiday right now, correct? With your family in the Bahamas?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm in the Bahamas right now, so we're just in a condo here in Exuma. But yeah, my family, they're out at the beach right now. They're out at the pool or something like that. And is a media blitz day where we're, of course, talking about our single two of us and getting the word out about a track I'm really proud of and the last couple albums that'll come out on the Compass Project. But it's good. My wife and my kids are doing great, and I'm going to join them in probably a half an hour or so. And it's a great way to kind of spend the morning, to be honest.
And we'll talk about the new song and the albums in just a second. But first, I saw this on Wikipedia. You tell me if it's a lie. You recorded your first album, Keeping It Country, when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, I released it when I was 12, but I was actually recording it when I was still 11. So that was my first recording. Yeah.
Where would we hear that? Like, does that exist anywhere?
It does. It exists on our first pressing of that was on cassette and then CDs. And I remember when we made that recording, the minimum pressing of that, because my parents helped fund the whole thing, like I think it was like $3,000. And we had to make 500 CDs. That was the minimum pressing. And my parents thought there's no way we're going to sell these. But I sold those 500 CDs at my album release concert in Glendon, Alberta on September the 12th, 2003. We sold 500 tickets and I sold 500 CDs at $10 a piece. So you do the math.
Right.
We spent $3,000 on the recording, made $5,000 on that album, and I had $2,000 net profit. I was a businessman.
When you're 12, you're rich, right?
It was unbelievable. So we've been doing it ever since.
And you're Canadian, of course. You moved to Nashville for a while, came back to Alberta. Was it tough to leave Nashville? Because, obviously with your career, that's the place to be.
I thought about this over the last, several years, as I've definitely spent more time in Canada. It's just the pendulum swinging, because when I started my career, I moved to Nashville, and I was a permanent resident of the United States of America to a degree. Like, I always maintained my Canadian citizenship, but I had this O1 work visa, so I lived more in the United States than I did in Canada. So because of that, I learned a lot of great lessons from the big American stars. However, it was during the COVID era where I realized I love being back home in Alberta. I wanted to be closer to my grandparents. And I had an opportunity to buy into the family farm. So doing that in Alberta was very special. But we still maintained a residence in Nashville, so I can go back and forth. So even though I'm not in Nashville as much as I used to be, I never left. And that was the very important thing, was to never leave Canada, but also never leave America, to have cowboy boots on both sides of the border so that I could really have a finger on the pulse of what's going on back home and what's going on in Music City, USA. That was very important to me.
You moved back home to be closer to family, also closer to your Edmonton Oilers.
Right. Even though I actually, in some respects, living in Nashville, saw more Oilers games because it was so easy to fly from Nashville to Minnesota, or Nashville to the Atlanta Thrashers, or Nashville to Pittsburgh. So I would watch, 10 or 12 away games a season in different cities. So that was really, really fun. But now living in Edmonton, I can't wear a Kissel jersey because then I'm just so busy taking selfies in the audience,
right,
in a crowd, that I actually just go up and I sit in the press box when I watch Oiler games, so that I could just watch from there, analyze the game, and I sit with the hurt players or the scratched players. And I always bring a deck of cards, and we play cards up there in the intermission, and we play crib or blackjack, or I don't know. We play weird games. And so I sit with all the guys who are healthy scratches or on the long-term IR, and we watch the game together.
And are you going to be at the Heritage Classic in a few weeks?
I 100% I'll be at the Heritage Classic.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll look for you if they show the press box. We'll look for you up there playing cards.
Exactly. Yeah. Because there's nothing else you can do up there, because in the press box, you're not allowed to wear a jersey because that's like neutral grounds.
Right.
That's sanctioned by the NHL. And then when you're in the press box, there's no alcohol up there. So I can't even have a cold beer. So how am I going to kill the time? So
Right.
I just drink water and play cards with the boys.
Right. So let's talk about the albums. Compass Project, 4 albums in 1 year. What was the reaction when you pitched this idea to your label, to your management? Said, I'm going to put out 4 albums this year.
Well, I've kind of had the idea for probably 5 or 6 years of doing a box set. And I wanted to do something like this, for a long time. But it was my management and the whole team that said, you have to wait for the right time. So getting a chance to now be in this business for 10 years on the national scale, it made sense now, because I felt like I had a bit more brand and a bit more national recognition. So because of that, I'm really, really proud of all the different sides that are coming out of who I am as an artist and as an entertainer. So the East album with the singer-songwriter side, the West album that is so country and Western, and the North album, which of course is my greatest hits. And I never thought that I would get to a point in my career where I would have a greatest hits record. So to be able to have that is something I'm really, really proud of.
So the East and the South are both out already.
Yeah.
West is coming out November 3rd.
Yes.
There's a track on the West album called Legacy. Talk about that song.
So that one is very important to me, huge impact. To get into the nitty gritty, but also to be conscious of your time and the time of obviously your viewers and your listeners. When my grandpa revealed the will of what he was going to do with the family farm, when he was diagnosed with cancer, it blew up the family as to who was going to get this land, who was going to get that land, who was going to get these cows, who was going to get those cows. It's a story that we've all heard of, and I experienced the 5-year war between my family, my parents and my grandparents, and being caught in the middle. What's interesting is I sided with my grandpa and my grandma. I felt that what they were willing to distribute was extremely fair, and it made perfect sense, because as farmers are, they are asset rich but cash poor. There's no money in the bank, because as soon as you got money, you buy more cows, or you got tractor payments, and you got to buy more land. And it was all about what is it going to be for the next generation? What is the legacy going to be? So my uncle, he wrote a poem called Legacy, and I restructured it a bit so that it would fit to music. And it's really like a spoken word.
it's it sounds more like Eminem and the passion that Eminem has than it does a country song, although it's a very rural, ag-based topic that talks about succession planning and the greed of my family that pretty much tore the ranch apart.
That's that's heavy to put that out there publicly. Like, was there any moment when you thought, man, maybe this is too much, maybe this is too personal?
Well, the reality is it is too much, and it is deeply personal. But I in this chapter of my life, even though I'm only 33, I care a lot more about caring less, because I think that a lot of people have been through this, and that this was also my therapy. You know, I lived through 5, 6, 7 years of unbelievable battles and war of words and just hate between my family members that tore the family apart. And there's a bunch of family members that don't speak to me because of who I sided with, even though I tried to always lead with diplomacy and tact and kindness. I was always wanting unity. But when that wasn't able to be achieved, you sometimes got to throw your hands up in the air and say, I can't help this situation anymore. So this song, Legacy, is an ode to the farm, and it's kind of a big hug to my grandpa to say, you built a farm over 100 years, you did create a legacy, and even though siblings tore it apart, you can still be very, very proud, because this is not necessarily your fault. And that's kind of what the song is about.
On a lighter note, let's talk about the new song, which is more of a party song.
Oh yeah, the pendulum really swings to the other side. Absolutely.
It does.
And that's the great thing about country music, man, is that you can have a song that rips your heart out, like Whiskey Lullaby, and then Brad Paisley, as you know, the very next single, I think, was Mud on the Tires. So that's the beauty of country music. And Two of Us, with Cooper is the most fun song I've ever written.
Two of Us with Cooper Allen. It's spinning right now on Country 90.5 here in North Bay. How did that all come together?
Well, Cooper gets the credit because, and I'm going to use a Cooper Allen, North Carolina accent right now, but he gets on TikTok in front of his 9 million followers and he says, oh, Canada, y'all just sold out the key to Bala. And man, I tell you what, I got to get to know Canadian country music even more than this. And I got to do a song with a Canadian country artist and get to know Canada even more. So y'all just get in the comments and tag your favorite Canadian country artist, and maybe I'll get to know one of them great Canadians. Well, sure enough, if I wasn't tagged 1,000 times, and so I TikTok Cooper back and I say, hey man, you want to get to know more about Canada? I'm your tour guide. You want to do a duet? I'm your guy.
And did you guys even know each other at that
No.
point? You'd never met or anything?
No, he said he had heard of me and heard of my music, but on TikTok, I had seen his TikToks, like especially his comedic mashups. But I had no idea he had 9 million followers, and had this extraordinary career. I just didn't know. So all I did was TikTok him back publicly. I didn't even DM him. I just publicly said, hey, Cooper, I'm your guy. And then he TikToked me back and said, when's the next time you're in Nashville? And I TikToked him back. I said, next week. And he sent me the address for his studio. And we wrote a song in late July. And the song that we wrote took us 2 hours. We wrote it with Matt McKinney and Seth Mosley. The four of us got in the room. Within 2 hours, we wrote this song. I sent it to my manager. He sent it to his manager. And the two managers, I guess, called each other immediately and said, this song is a hit. Like, what are we going to do with this? And we said, well, screw it. Let's put it out. So we released it at the CCMAs, because why not? And it's been amazing. And we're so grateful that you're playing it. It's the #1 most added song, all genre, at Canadian radio this week.
There's a great video of you introducing Cooper to the Caesar versus the Bloody Mary, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
My other question is, how tall is Cooper Allen? Because in any picture or video I saw, he seems to tower over everybody else.
Oh, he really does. I kind of, he makes fun of me and I make fun of him because the only reason why we're both country stars is because you can't be middle height. You either have to be super tall or super short. And he's super tall. I think he's 6'5" or 6'6". So he's as tall as like Garth Brooks is 6'4", Blake Shelton is 6'6", Trace Atkins is 6'9". Like you're either super tall, Sam Hunt is 6'4", or you're super short. Keith Urban is 5'5". I'm 5'7". George Strait is 5'3". Kenny Chesney's like 5'2". So like you can't be middle. You either got to be super tall or super short. And the two of us are like, there's that photo of Jimmy Buffett and Alan Jackson standing side by side in 5 o'clock somewhere. Jimmy Buffett, was like 5'7" or 5'8", and Alan Jackson is 6'6". So it's identical, me and Cooper and Alan and Jimmy Buffett.
It feels weird to ask you this question because we've talked about the 4 albums, we've talked about the new single, but what's coming up for Brett Kissel outside of all that?
Well, once the records are out and we start decorating our house for Christmas, there's a Christmas song that I wrote with a friend of mine named Nick Galka. We wrote it years and years and years ago, and we rewrote one of the great Christmas classics. I'm not going to tell you what the title is, because I want the shock value the minute you hear this song coming out this Christmas. Just think of the most fun Christmas song that there is, and we rewrote it to be like a farming version of it. So if you have a blue collar and a redneck, and you like to wear plaid shirts and trucker caps, and blue jeans and cowboy boots, this is your Christmas song. And I think people are going to get a kick out of it. It's hilarious.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you want to get back to the beach, get your Speedo on and hang out with your family.
Don't worry. There ain't going to be no Speedo whatsoever. But I am going to have a drink in my hand. It's going to be tarps off. I'm going to get that sunburn, and I can't wait. Yeah, the kids are by the pool, and I'll join them in probably half an hour, 45 minutes.
Awesome. Well, cheers to you, and cheers to a great year. And like I said, the song's awesome, and we're happy to be spinning it here. 2 of us. It's Cooper Allen and Brett Kissel. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I hope you have a good one, eh?